Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa and I'm the Carbootcrafter, and I'm coming on today with the start of my Easter projects. So to start off with, I'm doing these two cute little Easter baskets which I'm going to fill with Easter treats in there. So the first one is really simple, and if you're already familiar with it, great. If not, do watch. It's absolutely brilliant for well, for anybody, beginners or people that that have been crafting for a long time. But if you want something a little bit more challenging or a little bit decorative, then this one might be just the thing for you. It's a lot more decorative on the sides, and has, because I've used this gorgeous stripy paper, you get this sort of curved effect on the basket sides, which I think gives it more of a basket feel, dare I say it. So yes, I'm going to show you how to make both of them during today's video. So let's pop them to one side, and I'll get on with it. So I'm going to start with this one, with the very simple one, and both of them are based on the same scoring and initial cutting. So I'm using A4 paper, and you can use A4, or you can, if you want to, any square will do, any size square. And if you've got loads of 6x6 papers, it's a great way to use them up, but you will get a much smaller basket than the ones I've got here. So what I've done with the A4 patterned paper is I've started off by cutting my first piece, my square. So we know that A4 in the UK is 21 centimetres. So I've cut this at 21 centimetres, and all my scorings in centimetres today, simply because it was easier to convert than try and work things round in imperial measures. So yeah, so this is now a square piece of paper, which is 21 by 21. I've then cut myself a piece of 4 centimetres, which is going to be my handle. And then I have this scrap bit, which I've used to cut out some flower dies, which I will use in my decorating. So start off first of all with your 4 centimetre piece, and just very simply score it at 2 centimetres. Very simple. And then we're going to fold it in half and glue it. So 2 centimetres, fold it in half. Be very careful that, because sometimes if your cutting isn't completely accurate, you can get that little bit of an overlap. So just be very careful that your edges meet before you reinforce that score line. So that's worked well, so I'm going to reinforce that. And to give it time to glue, I'm going to glue it now in advance. So just a little bit of glue all down the one side, like that. And this is exactly the same for the second one when you come to it. So flip that over and push that glue right into that paper. I'm just going to pop it under the scoreboard to hold it in place. Now on your square, now the basis is exactly the same for any square. What you need to do is to divide the edge into 3. So if you've got a 12 by 12, for example, and you wanted to do one of these, then you would score at 4 and 8, and then you get 3 equal sections. Because this is 21 centimetres, I can score this at 7. And again at 14, like that. So we now have 2 score lines. I'll flip it over, you might see it better. 2 score lines, one at 7 and one at 14, which has divided our panel into 3. So then I'm going to turn it, so I've scored it there, so I want to turn it on the next side and score exactly the same. So I'm scoring again at 7 and at 14. Really simple little box this. All you've got to do is remember to score. I'm just reinforcing those scores, I'm not putting anything else in. So you now have a piece which has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. Very simple, very basic, and nice and easy if you're in a rush, which I will often use this one for. My glue's not sticking at the moment, so I'm just going to reinforce that. Grab my other bone folder and lay it on top and hope for the best. Okay, so once we've got to this stage, I'm just simply going to cut down. Let's grab a pencil. I'm going to cut down 2 of the lines, 2 of my score marks, but I'm going to stop here and here, because I don't want to go any further down. So simply cut down to that point and stop. Okay, and the same on this side, cut down and stop as soon as you get to that line there. So we then have that. Then you need to turn it 180 degrees, and you're going to do exactly the same on this side. Whoops, my line's a bit wonky there. So there's my score lines, and I'm going to cut down, whoops, there we go, until I stop at that score line, and the same on this side, just simply to the score line. And this is how you start off both of these baskets. Then you're going to, on this one, you're now going to fold all of those lines. So being very careful to line up this side with this side here. And I'm going to reinforce that line, open that back up, turn it around and do exactly the same on this side. So I'm reinforcing all of those lines so that they're nice and crisp. There we go. And then I'm going to just fold this one as well, just so as we've got those like that. And now, very simply, we create our basket by, I'm going to put those 2 in the middle, I'm going to pop them in, and then I'm going to, on this side, I'm bringing up both of these until they meet, and these 2 points meet at the top there, and that's where I'm gluing. So I'm just putting some glue on that corner so that when I bring it together and bring those 2 points together like that, that glue can adhere to there. I haven't got any in that corner, so I'm just going to put some more on like that. If you're not sure where to put the glue, then bring it together and use your pencil to just draw a very faint pencil line there, and then when you open it up, you know where you've got to put the glue. Okay, let's reposition that and reinforce that glue. Once you've done that, you're then going to get your other piece. So this piece has now got to come up to there. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to grab my handle and just gently curl it. Makes fitting into the basket much easier. So what you want to do is you want to trap the end of your handle between what we've just glued and this piece here. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there and a little bit that side, and then I'm going to put some glue on this piece as well. I'm not going to go too far down, and the reason I'm not going too far down is because there's that little gap at the bottom there. So again, I'm going to bring this down and trap it between those 2 pieces like that. And I'm also going to put a little bit of glue here so that it'll pin to this piece here. I'm going to grab my peg. I do like my pegs, and I'm just going to do that because it'll hold it while the glue is drying. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. So I'm pushing that piece down out of my way. I'm going to bring those two together like that. I know I need to put my glue on this corner, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring it back, line up those 2 points like that, and give that a minute to dry or to reinforce into the paper. You can get your bone folder and push that in if you want to. Then once we've done that, I'm going to grab my handle and put a little bit of glue on there, a little bit of glue on the other side like that. Then I'm going to put some glue on that piece in there, just around the top. Don't need to be going too far down because, as I said earlier, you have that little gap in there. So again, let me turn it around so you can see. Again, I'm going to push it down and trap it, the handle, between, hopefully you can see in there, between those 2 pieces. I'm going to put a little bit of glue at the top so that it glues onto here. And I'm going to grab my peg and peg it like that. And then, using whatever decoration you want, you then glue that on there when it's all dry, and you've got your pretty little basket. So that's the first one. Let me show you how to do the next one. So you'll do exactly the same. You'll grab your square piece of paper, and again in this case it's the A4 that I've cut down to 21 by 21. So you're going to score it again at 7 and 14, turn and score again at 7 and 14, exactly like we did with the first one. Only this time I'm going to flip it over so that you can see, because I've made those marks there. We're then going to score on that first panel there. We're going to score at 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, but we're only going as far as that first, there we go, that first score line. So we score on that one, then we go across, we miss this panel out, and we go across to the other corner panel, and again we're scoring at 1 centimetre increments, so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Okay, so we're just scoring to there, and we're only going as far as that score line that goes all the way across. That was our 7 inch, so we'd scored at 7, we turn, we score at 7 and 14, then we come back and score at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, or whatever you want to. If you want to do this at 2 centimetres or as 1.5 centimetres, then you can do it. It's very similar to that. So we're going to turn that 180 degrees and do exactly the same on the other side. So don't forget, we've scored at 7 and at 14 all the way through, and then we're scoring again at 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6, but only to that first score line, and then at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, again only to that score line. Then we're going to turn it one more time and score at 1 centimetre from that line there, from that score line there to this one. if you aren't happy at scoring without seeing, then you've got two options. The first one being that you simply cut down that line as we did for the other one. So you can just score down like that if you want to. Then fold that out of the way, because we'll be folding that soon anyway, and then pop it up and then score. And move that one out the way if that helps as well, and then score. Okay, and you can do exactly the same on this side. I'm going to do that because we have to score these, cut these down anyway. So cut all the way down to that first score line, as you can see from my pencil mark. Fold those back out the way, pop it in there, make sure you've buffed this edge right up to here and score at 1 centimetre, or if you want to you can freestyle it later on. Okay, so once we've got to there, we're going to then cut down all of these lines, going only as far as that first line that is horizontal. So you're cutting all of those down, and again, like I said, I've done these at 1 centimetre. You can do them at 1.5 centimetre, whatever works for you. So you're cutting down all of these like that on this one and all of these four corners, and you end up, because I'm not going to spend all day cutting those for demonstration, you end up with a paper that looks like this. Let me just fold that all out. That looks like that. So you've got all of those cut, and then this score that you did, you're just going to fold that down out of the way. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there as well. I'm going to get one of my pegs to hold it down, and the same with this one. We need this panel, but we need this out the way. If you're happier, you can cut this piece off. I just like it because I think it just gives it a nice finish on the inside. Okay, so once you've got to that stage, you're going to fold in this piece out the way, and we're going to start working on these pieces. So starting on the end, we need these two. Let me fold these back down. They keep wanting to stand up now that I've folded them. So before you do this, make sure you've reinforced all those scores. So do go round with your bone folder and fold them up and reinforce those with your bone folder, that way and that way, of course. So we're going to grab these two outer ones, and we're going to pop a little blob of glue on one of them, and we're simply going to bring it together, and using those two corners we're going to line them up. Whoops. We're going to line them up so that they overlap ever so slightly. So I'm just doing it fairly straight. It doesn't matter if it's not completely straight. You can go up a little bit if you want, or you can bring it completely straight. Entirely up to you. Just bring them together and get them to glue together. Once you've done that, you're going to get another piece of glue, pop it on there, and then bring the next one across, and keep going until we've done all of them. So I like to keep my thumbnail on there because it just holds them, and you start to build up this rather nice pattern. Especially if, like, I try and do these usually with a lined paper, because I really like the effect that you get. So you're going to keep going and glue all of those one at a time like that. You can use a peg if you want to hold them in place if you're not quite able to hold it. or like, I mean, I'm lucky, I've got a nice long thumbnail there, so that's holding it very well in place. Don't worry about how messy this gets, because what will happen when we put our decoration on, it's going to hide all of that. It's a little bit fiddly doing it the wrong way around. So another on there, and I started this technique with 3, so you might want to start off with 3 if you're not so confident with this sort of technique. Starting to wave a little bit, so I'm just going to bring it back up. Using the wet glue as well gives you a little bit of flexibility to move and maneuver things around a little bit as well. So there we go, there's all of our pieces all done in. I quite like it sometimes when they bend up a little bit like those ones have there. Don't know whether you'll be able to see, those ones have bent up a little bit. So I'm just going to pinch that together. Now it does look a little bit of a mess, but don't worry, we'll be covering it with our decorations. So I'm going to take my peg off there, and I'm going to put some glue on the back of this. Now remember, we've got all of that there, so we can only put glue on these corners. So I'm going across there and on that corner, and what that will do, that will hold not just this top bit but the sides as well. So I'm just going to reinforce that, and again I'm going to grab a bigger peg and I'm going to pop that on there just to hold everything in place. I think I might do a couple of them on there actually, like that. Oh, actually what I completely forgot to do was to get my 4x4. Right, hold on one sec, undo that. I'd forgotten about the handle, hadn't I? Now normally I would use a piece and score it in half, but I do know these two measure 2 centimeters because I messed up on my measuring, thinking 2 centimeters for the handle. Or you can use one piece, it's entirely up to you and dependent on what you're actually going to put in the basket. That's the other thing that you can do. If you just want to cut one 2 centimeter piece of card, well, it's your project, do what you want, what works for you. So let me just, I'm not giving it time to dry unfortunately, but let's give that a anyway. So what I had forgotten to do was to pop my handle in. So exactly the same, glue both sides of the handle and pop it in, and trapping it between your weave, the outside of your basket, and this piece as well. Actually, I'm going to pop a little bit more glue on here in case that's started to dry. So trapping it, but making sure it doesn't come down here too far, because you don't want to see the handle there. So I've trapped it, as you can see, between that piece that we've just brought up and this piece. And this is why, as you can see, if I'd have left this piece, it would have peeped over the top of my basket. So let's get those 2 pegs back in and turn it around and do exactly the same on this side. So first thing I need to do is bring that in, otherwise it's on the wrong side and things would mess up. You can start from the bottom if you want to, from the bottom ones, and you get a slightly different pattern, but I always do prefer to start from the top. It just kind of works for me, but again, it's got to be what works for you guys. So I'm going to bring those in and glue them together like that. Now what I'm going to do is double check on this side how far the angle was, because I don't want to have too much of an angle this side as if this side is fairly flat, which it is. So I'm bringing that at a much lesser of an angle, and I'm just going to hold that carefully and start gluing again exactly the same as before. Bring that across and glue, and bring that one across and glue, and just keep going. As I said, you can go as high or as low with your angle as you want. You can keep them all in the same spot if you want, or you can start working down and bringing them across, and you get different patterns, the different ways that you can bring them into your basket. I like bringing them up fairly close to the top, coming down ever so slightly, just to give it a little bit of flexibility there. But it starts to round off these corners, as these sides as well, which I think makes it look a little bit more basket like, which is what we're sort of aiming for with this. So there's another one. But again, like I said, if you wanted to, you could start off by cutting it. Oops, let's get that in up a bit further. You could start off by cutting fewer. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strips here. So if you have dexterity problems, or you're not as confident with this, then do feel free to reduce the number of little cuts that you've made in those sides to maybe 2 or 3, and then work your way up. Okay, so that's all done and dusted. So I'm just going to pinch that together, and like I say, with the wet glue you have a little bit of flexibility. So again, I'm going to stand it up, take my peg off there, that should have dried by now, and again I'm going to put a little bit of glue on both sides of my handle and on my inner flap, so on that corner and on that corner and across the top. So as you can see, there is that big gap in there where the papers didn't meet. So I'm going to bring that in, avoiding bringing it too low. I don't want it to be seen there. I want to bring it up and trap it again. Let's get them pegs out of the way. Trap it again between my papers that I've just done and that inner one. So I'm going to bring my pegs back in just to hold that in place. And then once you've done that, you can start to decorate and embellish. And as I've used my punch to punch out some flowers, those are what I'm going to pop on there. So a little bit of glue, and as you can see, when you pop it on, it hides all those joins, so you don't get to see them, and it looks far nicer, far prettier once you've decorated up a little bit like that. So I'm going to turn it round. Hopefully this has grabbed a little bit, and I'm going to pop this one on this side as well, like that. And these are going to go on my Easter table with some little treats in. And for anyone that can't come round on Easter Sunday, then I'm going to fill them with little sweets and treats and take them round with me. So there we go. Those are the 2 original ones that I did, and these are the 2. Let's take those pegs off, we don't need them now. And those are the 2 that I've just done. So I hope you'll give them a go. Like I say, they're great little baskets for, especially for Easter, but at any time of the year. And if you've made a gift, then they're great for popping in some shredded tissue or something and really making something special. So there you go. I'll pop those there like that. I hope I've done it in my half an hour that we've not gone over, but there you go. I hope you have a go. Tag me if you do, and I'll speak to you all in the next video. Bye for now.